Uh, NAR is one of those conferences that every year comes into question, especially from an exhibitor's perspective or from just snooping's perspective. Should we go? Should we not go? What will our clients think if we're not there? What will our competition think if we're not there? So many different just weird dynamics that play into going to the conferences around the country, especially the NAR. The National Association of Realtors is arguably the biggest conference throughout the year, and so while it's hard to justify not going because of that reason, it does become hard to justify going. Just because it's touted as the largest conference doesn't necessarily mean that it still is a good return on our investment. Travel costs are up. It's very expensive to go. You're pulling people from our company that normally would be out meeting and greeting with clients to be manning a booth at a conference. We're at the mercy of attendance, so you never know how many people are going to show, especially in a market that's perceived as being down. How many people will actually get on a plane, go through the cost of heading out to the National Association of Realtors conference with hotels and gas prices and plane tickets and food and car rentals and everything else that comes along with exhibiting and being there to visit and see all your fellow peers. So it's a touchy situation from our perspective. These conferences a lot of times feel like a Me Too type of scenario where we just like going so that we can say, me too, we're here. Here's our flag, here's our booth, and it eliminates competitors, making up stories or putting certain spin on things that, hey, those just snooping guys, they're not here because whatever reason they come up with, they went out of business or times are tough for them, or you don't want to get into business with just snooping because, obviously they're not here, they're not big enough to be here, what have you. So it's a tough call going to these conferences. And do we always, do we ever walk away from one of them saying, man, I'm so glad we were there? No, that's the reality. No, we don't. We don't ever, I can't remember a flight home thinking, boy, it's a good thing we went to that conference, which is unfortunate. You would think that we would be able to say that, but most of the time we end up leaving and we say, man, attendance was low. I can only imagine, I'm on one end, as an exhibitor, and I can only imagine the feeling of being an agent or an individual walking into the exhibit hall, being inundated with all these lights and gadgets and booths, and it's like going to Vegas. What makes you walk into a casino and stop at one table over the next? Luck, maybe? I mean, I don't know. You walk through and what's going to draw your money to one table over another? There's a million craps tables, there's a million blackjack tables, there's a million slot machines dinging and donging and, buzzing and whistling at you. And that's how we feel a lot of times as exhibitors, is what's going to separate us from the next booth 2 feet from us? Well, a lot of times it's just a random person stopping by, and the bottom line is that worth it? Is that a smart way to invest our money, our time, our resources? That becomes hard to swallow and hard to justify after a certain number of years of doing it, having the same result, over and over. And I'll tell you this, the definition of an idiot is a person that does the same thing over and over and over and expects a different result. So you never know. I mean, time will tell. We're optimistic about this year's NAR, but the future, we'll have to wait and see. I guess we'll weigh it on that plane ride home from this year's NAR.